It's not gonna be easy, but all of your wildest dreams can come true.
He's so impactful with his words.
Jeremy was phenomenal.
Our school system was blessed to have him. I was about to cry.
The 24 years I've been here, the best, the most motivational, most inspiring I've ever heard.
I want the people to know, who is Jeremy Anderson?
Motivational speaker Jeremy Anderson will be in town to speak to the Boys in the Building Men program.
Let's start with this question. Who is Jeremy Anderson?
Yeah, so husband, father, son, for many people, a voice of change, and for others, a voice of hope.
When you get to a point where you can give your school your best and your family your best, let me tell you something, you're gonna go from one level to the next level, and we're gonna look up one day and we're gonna see you at the top.
God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you. I'll take the stage at 7:15 to 8.
To your feet and put your hands together for Jeremy Anderson.
How does it feel to be experiencing this level of success?
Yeah, so it feels good, but I gotta say, I was not always experiencing this level of success, right? My mom had me when she was 16 years old. I had repeated failure in school, years of drug and alcohol abuse. Like, I know how it feels to fail. I know how it feels to fight through depression. I know how it feels to feel like you're not good enough. So now when I speak, now when I share, I'm able to be that voice for others. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can let this next generation know that their condition will not be their conclusion.
This is a great honor for us. Anytime we can get somebody that's known nationally as we speak here, it makes a lot of difference.
My passion for educators, teachers, counselors, like those who are responsible for shaping the hearts and minds of these kids, I realized something. I can reach 1 million kids, right? But if I can reach 1 million teachers and I can have an effect on them, now they can reach 20 million kids.
I implore you to come and find a Jeremy Anderson conference. You will leave blessed, you will leave inspired, and you will leave fired up to go back to your classroom and to do the work that you've been called to do.
So with all my travels in schools and universities, all my travels at conferences across the country, across the globe, like, I want people to know, like, yo, you can live your best life. It's not gonna be easy, but if you hang in there, all your dreams can come true.
You good?
Bless, man.
Yeah, it's showtime.
So here's the crazy thing, Sissy. Me and my wife quit our jobs in 2012, right, to be able to do the work that we're doing today. And to see where we are today, it's pretty sobering. It's one thing for me to travel the globe speaking and motivating, but now to be able to give back is something special, right? We're sending teachers across America on cruise vacations. Our nonprofit is sponsoring 40 students in South Africa for college. Like, this is a global impact. We're feeding thousands of kids per month through our nonprofit. Like, that's the type of global impact that we're making, and I'm pretty proud of it.
With all this travel and speaking, being away from your family, I can't imagine that this is easy.
Well, no one said changing the world would be easy.
What's up, Enspire Conference 2022? Make some noise! Man, good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. How's everybody feeling? Come on and talk to me. How you feeling? All right, don't let that breakfast get you all sluggish now. All right, they asked me if I was gonna stay up here, if I was gonna walk down. I said, I'm gonna stay up here as long as I don't see no bobbleheads going on. Super excited to be here. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. To Ariana and her team. Can we just put our hands together for everybody that's responsible for making this happen? It's such an honor for me to be able to work with such amazing humans who have such a care and a passion for our young people and this next generation. So I'm really humbled and honored to have this opportunity. Really glad to be here. I told Ebony, probably a few months ago, I had a little situation with my son. I told Ebony, I said, look, when I travel, I need to fly in and fly out, same day. I said, we got to really reduce the times when I travel and speak, when I have to stay in the hotel room away from my family, because it affects them. It can be challenging. You do this year after year, speaking, jumping on planes 2-3 times a week. My son recently, I had a speaking engagement in Australia, and I was FaceTiming my son Jackson. He's only 4, and I'm FaceTiming him, and he saw the suite I was in. He said, Daddy, that's your new house? My heart was broke. I said, no, buddy, this is just a hotel room. I'm coming home. He was like, mm-hmm. And so I told Ebony, I said, hey, look, no more spending a night away, right? But for this event here, I had to do it because what you all are doing is really special. And so hats off to you all as well for making the investment and for coming here, right? So I've got a lot to share with you all in the next 2 hours. And so let me just say this. I'm just playing. Some of y'all was like, 2 hours? I'm just joking. So let me first start off by saying this. Thank you for answering the call that was on your life. Every one of you educators and administrators, thank you for answering the call that was on your life. You see, I believe that being an educator is not just an occupation. This is not just a career. This is a calling. Would you agree? You got to be called to do this work. And a little crazy, right? A little bit. Poquito loco, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to have that edge about you. You got to be creative and innovative to really connect with the hearts and minds of students today. That can be challenging at times. I know when I first was in school, I struggled a lot. The absence of my biological father. My mom had me at the early age of 16. She had to drop out of school in Texas back in the day because they wouldn't let you stay in school and be pregnant. So we're instantly in poverty. And I've got rage issues. I've got temper issues, a diagnosis of ADHD, super hyper, never really focused. I was really all over the place. I was the type of student that if I was in your class, y'all know how President Barack started with black hair and by the end all his hair was white? I was that student that would expedite the gray hairs coming through. I was that student that if I was skipping school and you probably thought I was homesick, you were having the best day ever. You're writing on the board, great job, Sabrina. And then I walk in the classroom at 11 o'clock and you're oh, okay, so you're not sick, right? I was a terror just because I was lost and confused and trying to figure things out. And, you pair all of that, and in 6th grade, I end up getting left back. 7th grade, 8th grade comes around. 8th grade, I had a teacher tell my mom I wasn't high school material. During a parent-teacher conference, words are so powerful. I read it one time in the book. It says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. What we speak, you feel me, has the power to make people feel good, encouraged, invigorated, excited, optimistic, and hopeful for the future. But with that same tongue, that same mouth, we can speak words that can make people feel sad, down, depressed, discouraged, divided. And so when we use our words for power, that's where the beauty of life comes from. And so unfortunately, and I don't want to demonize that teacher. Mr. Cooper was not a bad person. He was just, I told myself I'd never call him out. Sorry, Mr. Cooper. He wasn't a bad person. He just, see what my church says, teach by faith and not by sight? He wasn't able to teach by faith. He taught by sight. He saw my transcripts. He saw my behavior. He saw my record. He thought who I was then, I was always going to be. See, I'm telling young people now, your condition is not your conclusion. Yeah. I'm telling students now, where you are right now is just temporary. There's a whole other level and a whole other version of you. And what I should have did when he told my mom to her face, your son is not high school material, I don't know what y'all going to do next year. What I should have did was I should have proved him wrong. I should have said, you know what? I'm going to prove him wrong. This is not cool. I'm going to prove my mom right. But that's not what I did. Rage, temper, bad behavior, off the chain. I went to school the next year. My first try for the 9th grade, I went to the school called Oakwood Academy. And I terrorized that school, right? I did pranks and I was starting rumbles and fights every day. I was off the chain, and bomb threats flooding the school. I was off the chain, right? And I began to make a name for myself, and I did one final prank, and the school got all bent out of shape and kicked me out of school because I cut the electricity off in the whole school, right? So the whole school goes black, the power goes out. And everybody's the word quickly spread. and they begin to chant my name, Jeremy, Jeremy, like echoing through the hallways. And I'm so goofy, I'm like, yeah. Then I thought about it. I'm like, no. And long story short, that school kicks me out. Next year comes around, I go to the school called Johnson High. This is a much larger high school, like 2,500 students. And on the first day, I come across a teacher that was like, I heard all about you. I heard about your mess, your transcript, your behavior. I'm not putting up with that. I'm not tolerating that. I got kids older than you. If you got the wrong one today, you ain't got to be here if you don't want to be here. Like, she called herself drawing a line in the sand. Now, whenever somebody talking and snapping and moving their neck and their wrist, it ain't never good, right? And so, you know what my response was? I don't want to be here anyway. Never went to class, never did a test, never did a quiz, never did homework. I just went to skip parties every day where everybody was drinking and smoking and having a good time, never really went to class. And at the end of that school year, a whole year wasted, I get my final report card, all Fs and 1 C. Somebody want to take a guess what I got a C in? How'd you know? How'd you know? She like, Jim, baby. That's like the only class I would kind of go to on somewhat of a regular basis. So I've got this report card, and I'm thinking like, oh, now my mom about this tall, but boy, she got some hands, you know what I'm saying? I don't want no smoke with my mom. I'm thinking like, man, this is not gonna be good. This is gonna be the worst summer ever. She's gonna kill me. So I came up with a plan to change my grades, right? You'll be surprised how innovative your students are, right? So I go to the library, I get the report card, I blotch off all the F's and the C, I let it dry, I took a pen and a ruler, put those small little lines and dots, and gave myself all A's and 2 B's. I spoke life to myself that day. So I gave myself A's and 2 B's, and then I go to a copy machine and I make a copy of it. Like, this is some Leonardo DiCaprio Catch Me If You Can type of forgery, right? And I'm feeling really good about it. And as soon as I get home, my mom's at the front door. And I didn't have time to come up with the lie yet. So she's like, give me a report card. Because I'm knowing this one might not fly because it's not the normal card stock the report card will come in. And it's not the normal shape. It's like in a 8.5 by 11 computer paper. I'm thinking like, I don't think this gonna fly, right? And so she's like, give me a report card. I'm like, hey, Mom, you ain't hot? You can't speak. She's like, boy, stop playing with me. Give me a report card. I've been waiting for this. I'm thinking like, ooh, she can't wait to kick my butt. I'm thinking like, this is not gonna be pretty. So I hand it to her. She takes one glance at it and says, boy, where your real report card at? And it's like my whole world stopped at that moment. I was just like, Mom, let me explain. She was like, I don't wanna hear it. I know what you did. I said, you do? She said, yes. You lost it. How you lose everything. Boy, you lose your head if it wasn't attached to your neck. You lost your report card and you went to the office and you begged them to make a copy of the original that they had on file. Yup. That's it. That's brilliant, Mom. How'd you know? I know everything, boy. I'm like, you sure do. I'm thinking like, man, that's actually a really good narrative. I'm gonna go with that one. So she's actually looking at the report card now. And she says, come here right now. So I slowly start backing up because my mom was good to throw things at me if she couldn't catch me, right? So I was slowly backing up. She's like, come here right now, honey. I said, honey? I go to my mom, her lips start shaking. Her nose starts flaring, her eyes start twitching. I'm thinking like, ooh, I ain't never seen this level. And my mom burst into tears. She's like, baby, I always knew you can do it. I'm so proud of you. My baby made A's and B's, wrapped her arms around me, wet my shirt with her tears. Like, Mom broke down. And this is gonna sound a little goofy, right? But I got a little emotional too. I was like, I told you, Mom, I'm gonna make you proud. I'm hugging her, she hugging me, and we're sharing like a genuine moment here. Now, I was not emotional because I actually thought I made A's and B's. I was more so emotional because I'd never seen my mom cry tears of joy. It was always tears of sorrow, always tears of pain, always tears of hardship. We get an eviction letter, I get arrested, I end up in juvie, I get kicked out of school. Like, I've never seen tears of joy. So the thought that my behavior, my success could cause her that much joy, it was emotional for me. We shared a great moment, and that summer was amazing. But I tell students whenever I speak in schools that what's done in dark eventually comes to light. I remember when I was young hearing things like, honesty is the best policy. I used to feel like that's corny, whatever, but that's real life. That school sent my real report card home at the end of the summer, attached with the letter. The letter simply said, Miss Anderson, as you know, your son Jeremy failed the 9th grade again. Are you going to keep him here, or should we move his transcripts to another school? My mom calls the school. She's in denial. She's like, my baby made A's and B's. They're like, no, he didn't. She's like, yes, he did. I'm looking at it. They're like, yeah, we're looking at it too. I was like, hang up the phone, mama. Like, just, she said, why? Why would you play me? Why would you embarrass me? Why would you humiliate me like this? Why do you keep breaking my heart? And I said, come on, Mom, break your heart? Like, don't put me in the category of other men who hurt you. But I realized that my behavior was really weighing on my mom. At that moment, I really did want to change. Like, contrite heart, broken spirit, I was like, okay, I've got to do better. I wanted to change, but I didn't know how. I felt stuck. I was so entrenched with who I was. You know what I'm saying? Short attention span, can't really focus, super hyper, all over the place, trying to manage rage, like could barely read. Like I was in a really bad place. Now, my mom's an amazing mom, so she moved me to a new school because she knew if I stayed at Johnson High, it would be a big distraction. Right? I could see the jokes already. Jeremy should be class president since he's the oldest, ha, ha, ha. I was like, okay, yeah, this is not going to be pretty. So she moved me to a school called Huntsville High, and that's when everything for me changed. I believe that's when I began to connect with educators like you. On the first day, I felt like these teachers were weird, though, because they're like so excited. They're like, hey, Jeremy, we're glad you're here. I'm thinking like, me? Not me, because I'm a terror, right? They're like, yes, we're so glad you're here, Jeremy. I'm thinking like, okay, this is weird. Like one teacher was like, man, I saw your information, right? And I was wondering, is he gonna be in my class? Is he gonna be in my class? I'm your teacher, I got you, my man. I'm thinking like, bro, you're excited that I'm in your class? I remember one teacher, I was like, hey, did you get my transcript? She was like, yeah. I was like, you know about last year? She said, baby, why are we talking about last year? This is a new season you in. She said, one thing about me, baby, I don't care about what you did before. I don't care about them other schools. When you in my classroom, you mine. I was like, okay. I was like, the ownership, they was like, baby, I ain't worried about that. They was just like, you gonna be just fine. I'm thinking like, and they saying some crazy stuff. They like, you could be a scholar, you could make A's and B's, you could catch up with your right grade, you could go to college if you wanted to, you could start your own company. I'm thinking like, okay, this is foreign. Like I ain't never heard no talk like this. And I really felt like they were weird. So I said, okay, this is one of those new age schools, right? You know what I'm saying? Like they probably got like Kahlua in the break room. You know what I'm saying? Like a little Bailey's Irish cream with the coffee. Is this wine down Wednesday? Is it Merlot Monday? Like I'm literally thinking like, y'all sipping on something because everybody was so bubbly and so excited and so optimistic. I'm thinking like, are y'all sober though? Like, did you get my transcripts? And they were just like, yeah, we heard all about you and we're excited that you're here and we're up for the challenge. I remember one of my teachers was like, hey, Jeremy, I heard a lot of interesting things about you. And I said, really? Yep, I heard you've got some strong leadership skills. He didn't say positive or negative. He just acknowledged, I see that there's a leader inside of you. And he was like, if we could just channel that focus, if we can just channel that energy in the right way, you'll do some amazing things. And as much as I wanted to open up my heart, as much as I wanted to receive it, I was so ingrained in who I was, I tried to reject them. Until I walked in one of my teacher's classrooms and I caught her crying. It was her planning period. I'm like, what's wrong with you? She's like, oh, nothing. She tried to like wipe away. You catch somebody crying, they try to like wipe away their tears. Like, I'm fine. I'm like, you're not fine. I caught you crying. She's like, no, I'm fine, Jeremy. What you need? How can I help you? I'm like, see, that's the problem. Every day when I come to school, you say, let's do a temperature check. How's Jeremy doing? What's on your heart? You want me to be open and vulnerable, and I see you sitting here crying, and I'm trying to connect with you, and you don't, okay, Jeremy, calm down. I'm like, so what's up? I just heard from the doctor. What you mean? I just got my diagnosis. What are you talking about? Jeremy, I got cancer. I'm like, why are you here? You should be home resting. You should be getting treatment. You fighting for your life. She said, baby, you fighting for your life too. That thing started messing with my head. Another one of my teachers, I'm in class being a little jerk. I'm like, hey man, how long you been a teacher for? He's like, about 4 years. I'm like, what'd you do before that? He's like, I'm an engineer. I said, what happened? They don't pay you enough? He said, actually, I got paid almost triple. I said, no way. He said, oh yeah. I said, then what happened? You get fired? Whole class started laughing. He's like, no, I quit. I said, you lying. There's no way you quit your job. Right? You was making almost triple as an engineer. You're going to leave that and come to this school? That's a lot of money. He said, Jeremy, it's not about the money. I said, then what is it about? He said, it's about you. That thing started messing with my head. I'm thinking like, okay, y'all are different. I got another one of my teachers, one of my favorite ones, who I gave such a hard time, but she was such a gentle soul, Miss Thomas. She had a triple bypass surgery. Man, she came back to school a week before she was supposed to after the surgery because she missed us so much. Another one of my teachers was going through a divorce, another one that just buried her husband, but they're still showing up every single day. So now I'm questioning the narrative that I told myself all these previous years. Maybe I'm not an accident, because I felt that, right? My mom had me when she was 16 years old. I had to drop out of school. Like, I ain't walking around here feeling like I come from good stock. I come from pain. But I'm thinking like, maybe I'm not an accident. Maybe I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I've had people tell me that. Maybe that's true. Like, the narrative began to shift. I'm like, if they don't have to be here, these educators chose to be here. I said, okay, this is different. It's weird. I kind of like it, but I'm not really sure if I want to fully open up. But when I began to see the humanity in my educators. Now, those of you all that work with younger kids, you know my next statement to be true. The younger your students are, the harder time they have processing that you're like fully human. Like, for many of them, you're like teacher people. But they have a hard time understanding that you have a life outside of school, right? That's why if you're ever at Walmart, they're like, oh, I saw Miss Claiborne at Walmart. The kids are like, what were you doing there? You're thinking like, I was getting groceries. Or don't be at a restaurant with your family. Oh, I saw you with some people. Who are those? Those are my kids. Those are your kids? You're like, yes, they came out of my uterus. They're mine. They're like, wow. You're like, yeah, they're on my desk here. Oh, yeah, I seen them. They're young. They don't get it, right? But when I saw the humanity of my educators, when I saw what they were challenged with, what they were struggling with, and I realized that they still chose to show up every single day, I said, okay, maybe I'm not a mistake. Maybe I'm not an accident. Like, maybe I can be a scholar. Like, maybe I can figure this thing out. I felt like, hey, if you showed up and met me halfway, then the least I can do is meet you halfway. So I began to humble myself. I began to really believe in the greatness that was inside me. And now it's like the seeds that they were planting, it was falling on fertile land now. Now I feel more confident. Now I feel like it is possible. Now I feel like I can do great things, right? And so I said, okay, whatever y'all tell me to do, because let me tell you something. Once you capture the hearts and minds of your students, oh, they'll do whatever, and they'll believe whatever. Or they're going to believe it, right? Like, once you capture their hearts and minds, they're going to rock with you. They're going to believe it. They're going to receive it. Like, when I began to really believe I could do great things, I was like, whatever you want me to do. They was like, okay, Jeremy, you got all this extra energy. We got to find a way to channel it. You should join the wrestling team or sports. So I did wrestling, and I did track. Then they said, okay, Jeremy, you need more order and more structure. We think you should join the Army ROTC. I'm like, bruh, I'm not trying to wear that uniform. You know what I'm saying? They was just like, Jeremy. I was like, okay. So I joined the Army ROTC program, and then they was like, you need a bit more, guidance educationally. Like, they were like, we think you should join Sigma Phi Psi. And I said, oh, like a fraternity, frat parties? They was like, it's really a glorified study hall, right? But I joined Sigma Phi Psi. I got tutoring and mentorship. And next thing I know, after summer school and night school, I caught up with my right grade, graduated from high school on time. As a matter of fact, that same school that kicked me out, Oakwood, brought me in a few years ago to be the commencement speaker for their high school graduation. Right. I'll never forget when Ebony, my assistant who does all my bookings and contracts, we have a briefing like every Monday. She's like, okay, boss, I've got this engagement coming up. And she told me the name of the school. I said, wow, that's crazy. I went to a school called Oakwood. I said, where's it at? She told me where it was located. I said, whoa, that's the school that kicked me out. She said, yeah, they're like super proud of you. They're super proud of where you are. And they want you to speak for the graduation. I was like, okay, I'll do a pro bono. She said, oh, no. They have the budget. I said, no, you don't get it, Eb. I tortured this school. like, please let me, you know what I'm saying? This is my peace offering to them. And then I went to college. I got a bachelor's degree. I went to grad school, I got a master's degree, and in 2010 I wrote my first book, became a published author, and began to travel the world speaking. Okay, so I share that with you, so not just so that you kind of understand more of my story, my vantage point, my perspective, but so that you can understand okay, let me go a little bit deeper, right? And so now we've got a company where I've been working now for the past 13 years in this educational space. 60% of my speaking engagements are with the students, the youth. 40% are the teachers, professional development, or events like this here. I've been able to travel to every single country, all these different continents, like not every single country, but like all the continents, like all over the world. Like I've been able to do great things. We got a K through 12 social and emotional learning curriculum. I would have never thought. Matter of fact, Mason West, one of my favorite teachers that helped me in my weird season, is now works with our company, and he helps to write some of the curriculums, like to see the position I'm in now. Like you saw the nonprofit, you see the thousands of kids we're feeding, you see the 40 kids we put in college. Like we've got 20 employees that work for our company. One knucklehead that came across a group of educators. Notice what I said, a group of educators. There's strength in numbers. I know people that do the work I do, and their story is this. I had one teacher that changed my life. That's not my story. My situation, my case was so rare, it's like I needed to get hit for multiple. I'm gonna have to get affirmation in that math class, that PE, that social studies, that science. Like, it wasn't enough for me to have one educator that believed in me. I had to get hit from different angles. And I finally got to a point when I began to believe in the greatness that's inside me. So when we're at the Enspire conference and we're like, okay, we're here to inspire like this next generation, and we're here to inspire them into entrepreneurship, to believe that they can be lenders and not borrowers, right? To believe that they can be the head and not the tail, to believe that they can be above and not beneath, to believe that they can go on and do great things. I find myself oftentimes challenging students. I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? I want to play football. I'm like, why don't everybody ever say, I want to manage the team, or I want to coach the team, or I want to be the GM of the team, or I want to be the owner of the team? I'm like, okay, what you want to do? I want to do nails. Nah, boo-boo, you don't want to just do hair and nails. You want to own your own salon. I want to do landscaping like my dad. No, your dad worked for a company, but we're going to help you get your credit right and your LLC and your business plan, and you're going to own your own landscape company. That's the energy that you give. And because you speak with such passion and with such conviction, I promise you, it's only a matter of time before they receive it. So let me just encourage some of you, because some of you feel like, Jeremy, I'm just like a broken record. I'm saying the same old thing. I'm trying to pour into these kids. I'm trying to inspire them, and I don't know if the needle is moving. What do? Keep singing that song. Keep playing that record. You got to just be consistent. It's only a matter of time before that thing really takes root inside the heart, inside their soul, inside their mind, and then that greatness sprouts up. Because the world is consistent with its negativity. The world is consistent with its ratchetness. The world is consistent with the depression. Like we've got to be consistent with our positive attitudes. We got to be consistent with our motivation. We got to be consistent with our determination, our love, our faith, our hope, our belief in them. We got to be consistent with speaking life to them, because it's only a matter of time. And can I help some of you out? Let me tell you, for those of you educators that's been in education for a few years, but you're still kind of new to it, what's going to really help you have longevity in this space and to keep your peace and to stay encouraged is to practice delayed gratification. Delayed gratification. Any other career field, most career fields, you feel instantly gratified, right? An architect, they could design a building, a passes code, a chef can put together an amazing meal, cuisine, a music producer can make the beat or put together the album, the attorney can win the court case, the police officer, they solve the crime, like they feel accomplished. But as educators, the work that we do with these 9-10 months with these students that we've been privileged to serve, that's just like a few pages of that chapter of their whole book. And we don't really be getting the updates that we should when it comes to their success. So we have to be at peace that says, you know what? I'm going to inspire, I'm going to motivate, I'm going to encourage, and I'm going to be at peace with that. Knowing I did the absolute best that I could do on a regular basis. That's the mindset that we have to have. Because every blue moon, you'll get an email or You'll see a Facebook message from a student you had 6, 7, 8 years ago, and now they're married, or you know what I'm saying, or they got a job, or they're at a university, and you're like, wow, thank you, God, I just knew you were going to prison. I'm so grateful. Like, you have those moments where you're like, okay, they figured it out. Grateful, right? But it's like, but how do we manage that time now without? Because that's probably 1 to 2% of the kids that you all have been privileged to serve, teach, support, guide. I feel like we need our own like educational social media where we can kind of keep track of them. You know, wouldn't that be cool? Because it's like whenever they do something great, you get an alert or you get an update. So like when that one student that was always getting into a fight, but now he's in the Marines fighting for our country, you should get an alert. That one student that always has something to say, talking slick back, but now she's an attorney, you should get an alert. That one student that was Mr. Casanova, always had 3 girlfriends, but now he's married to 1 wife? Oh, you should get an alert, right? But we don't have that. And so it's like we have to use our imagination. We have to teach by faith and not by sight. We have to speak life and pour into these students and encourage them and be at peace with that right there. Because we can't control what happens in the future. We can't make them become successful. All we can do is continue to push them and guide them along the way. But we have to have peace that says, you know what, I did my part, and I'm okay with that. And that's what can be challenging. So when you have these students, and oftentimes I find myself advocating for the students who are, just naturally, I do this, right? I find myself advocating for the students who are really, really struggling. Because truth be told, some of you all have students in your class, they're super smart, super high IQ, great personalities, they come from great homes, they come home after school, they can smell the dinner their mom is cooking, their father gets home from school, how was your day, helps them with their homework, like they just in a really great predicament. But then you have some students where it's like their home life is the exact opposite. And so we have to be willing to be innovative and creative to be able to try to connect with them, because I believe before we teach them, we have to reach them. We got to reach them before we teach them, right? We got to have that internal connection here and here. And that takes time. That takes a lot of effort. It doesn't just happen naturally. I remember working with a school in Phoenix, Arizona, and Phoenix is in my top 5 states of popularity, meaning like that's where I travel the most. Is Texas, Arizona, California, New Jersey, and North Carolina. So Ohio, y'all got some work to do, okay? Holla at your boy. But I remember I was in Phoenix, and I was doing a professional development with a school, and one teacher was just like, Jeremy, I know you're advocating for a lot of our troubled youth, but, you know, and you're telling us to, sounds like you're telling us to treat some of them differently, and I don't know about that because all kids are created equal. I said, oh, that's so sweet. It was so cute, you know what I'm saying? I said, ma'am, you know, we're not having a conversation about equality here. We're talking about equity. Equality says, hey, I've got a pizza pie here, and it's 8 slices. You get 4 slices, I get 4 slices. That's equality. But equity says, if you haven't eaten in 2 days, maybe I'll give you 5 slices. I'll take 3. Maybe you'll get 6. I'll take 2. All right, that's equity. So I was trying to help her understand, you know, we do have to treat them differently, just like we got to teach kids differently. Kids got different learning styles, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different behaviors. Like, they come from different communities. They're not going to all learn the same. And that's what makes your job day to day oftentimes so challenging, but also so rewarding when you finally build that connection with them. So now you have to ask yourself, when it comes to entrepreneurship, I would probably say, and we'll talk about this some on the podcast in a little bit, but I would probably say that the majority of the work that you're doing, half of it at least, is helping them believe it's possible. If kids believe it's possible, if they believe they can start their own company, their own foundation, their own nonprofit, their own business, if they believe that, then it's only a matter of time before but nobody is going to put that work in if they don't believe. This is the challenge. Like, I feel like all my life I've been struggling with belief. The reason why I struggled so much in 6th grade and 8th grade and 9th grade over and over again is because I had a group of educators who did not believe. They looked at me and said, this is the best he can get, and his behavior is showing a track record, and they began to treat me as such. But when I came across a group of educators who spoke to the greatness inside me, who spoke to the positivity, who spoke to the light inside me, like when I came across them, there was a different type of energy. And because they first believed, then I believe belief and hope is contagious. So I'm seeing them now, and they're seeing me. So now we have to believe. So when you have your students have the work you do, it's just really helping them to believe in the greatness that's inside of them, to believe that it is possible, to believe. And so maybe you have some real hard conversations. Hey, look, you know I don't have to be here, right? You know I could go to any other career field and make way more money and deal with less stress, but I want to be here because of you. Some of you all, you're going to see a shift when you just have that conversation. You know why I show up every single day? You think I'm not going through some things in my life? You think life is perfect for me? It's not. You know why I show up every single day? Because I'm committed to helping you harness and tap into the greatness that's inside you. And when you start hitting them with that energy on a regular basis, it's only a matter of time before they really believe. And once they believe that they can do great things, once they believe that they can bounce back, once they believe that they can be successful and start businesses and companies and do other great things, everything in their life is going to change. And so maybe you all say, okay, let me find other opportunities to put other students, bring to light what they're doing. Because young people sometimes can be competitive. So maybe you say, hey, this is what Patrick is doing. Look at what Sabrina is doing. Check out this article right here. Let's watch this video right here. Look at this kid. This kid created a YouTube channel. This kid here created a nonprofit. Like, you've got to continue to put it in front of them. And when they believe what's possible, everything is going to change. Now, let me ask you all a question. Because it's important that I touch on this next point. Because one thing that nobody is questioning, we're not questioning your love for kids. We're not questioning your mental, your desire for them. We're not questioning your intentions. I don't think you all got into education for the money, did you? Right? Okay, yep, so your intentions are pure, okay? The question we have now is your mental bandwidth. How many of you, by a show of hands, so far this year, have pulled up to school in the morning, and before you even got to school, you were already mentally spent? Raise your hand. That's about half the hands went up. Now let me ask you this question, because some of y'all might feel like, it's early in the year. How many of you all last year? When you look at the last school year, or when you look at, what was that? 2 hands went up. How many of you all last year can honestly say, okay, Jeremy, maybe not in August, September, and October, but definitely last year, there were some days when you pulled up to school in the morning, and before you even came to school, you were already mentally spent, tired, frustrated, like in a weird place? Raise your hand. All right, so we all deal with life. And that's what can make your job so challenging. It's because you're not like working with robots. You're not on an assembly line. Like, you're not just like doing a marketing plan or something like that. Like, you're working with young, impressionable minds, hearts, souls, people, right? And so it takes a certain level of love. It takes a certain level of care. It takes a certain level of connection, because you're working with young people, like, in their future, and their brains are not even fully developed until they're in their early 20s. So you're still having to shape their hearts and their minds. Like, that can be very challenging while you're dealing with life yourself. So in our SEL curriculum, we focus on the whole child. I want to focus for a few moments on the whole educator. I want to focus on the whole you, because we could talk about entrepreneurship. We could talk about new creative ways, innovative ways to connect with kids. We could talk about that. We could talk about believing in them and teaching by faith and not by sight. We could talk about all of that. But what happens when you're empty on the inside? What do we do when you're a shell of yourself? When you feel like you're barely holding on? Because here's the reality. You and your spouse can have marital issues. Your own kids can lose their mind. You can get that diagnosis from the doctor. Your bank account can go in the negative. Like, I'm talking about where my real life people at that's really dealing with some stuff. Just let me know if you're here. Okay, all right. Because if I was in the room of educators whose life was perfect, then I would pivot and just hit y'all with some motivation. You can do it, but I want to talk to those of y'all. It's like, nah, Jeremy, I needed that. Some of you all came to this conference because you're like, I just need a little bit something to keep on going. That's why they brought me in. They bring me in when people get tired. They bring me in when people get low. They bring me in when people get discouraged. They bring me in when people are in a funk. They bring me in when folks are dealing with depression. They bring me in when folks are quick to throw in the towel. They bring me in when people are discouraged. They bring me in when people feel hopeless. They bring me in when they feel wore out, when they feel empty. That's where they bring me in. So before I pour now into you, let's just really talk about some things that you got to do so that you can move with strength, so that you can move with power, so that you can move with authority, because you're supposed to have peace in your life. You're supposed to have joy. You're not supposed to be a shell of yourself just trying to get by. You're not supposed to be running on fumes. I cannot tell you how many Teacher of the Years I've been privileged to interview and meet and work with over the years who every single one of them admit, Jeremy, yes, I won the Teacher of the Year award. Yes, I give my school my best, but my family the rest. We're not doing that anymore. This is the season where you will be able to give your school your all and your family your all. You'll be able to give your school your best and your family your best. You'll be able to give your school that greatness, and because your kids shouldn't come second, your spouse shouldn't come second, you and your own heart and mind shouldn't come second. So let's talk about balance. I talk to educators and I'm like, okay, so why are you coming to school in the morning tired and stressed? Like, why are you waking up exhausted? And then I realize, oh, they're not sleeping good. Let's talk about some real basic things here. One of my good friends, Dr. Sean Stevenson, wrote a book called Sleep Smarter. I remember having conversations with him because my wife was having issues sleeping. And I remember asking him, I said, hey, man, let me ask you a question. Like, what are some things that educators can do or people can do so that they get a good night's rest, so that they wake up in the morning feeling good and strong? And these are some simple things he gave me. The earlier you eat dinner, the better. Now, before I go further, let me just say something, because what I'm about to share with some of y'all are not going to like it. You probably thinking like, easier said than done, Jeremy. But guess what? The most successful people aren't the most gifted. They aren't the most talented. They're not the smartest. The most successful people in the world are those who are the most disciplined. Your purpose, your destiny, the greatness that's inside you, it can only be manifested if you were super disciplined. Like these kids in Ohio are going to go to a whole nother level in their personal lives when you tap into the full greatness that's inside of you. So these few small things I'm going to share with you, for some of you it might be really, really challenging if you got young kids or kids that are really active outside of school, but I still want to share with you, and you apply what you can. The earlier you eat, the better. Doctors say that your smallest meal should actually be dinner. Your biggest meal in the morning should be breakfast, because you're breaking from the fast from the night before. Lunch should be moderate. Dinner should be even smaller. The earlier you eat, the better. Why? Because after you eat, the more activity. Maybe you go for a walk or a hike, or you go out, or you do laundry. Like your body is beginning to digest. But when you eat a big meal late at night, you'll never get to REM sleep. REM sleep is the sleep when you actually burn fat. REM stands for rapid eye movement. Like that's a deeper type of sleep. That's when your body is actually burning fat. That's when your immune system is actually getting boosted. For those of you all that's like, man, I slept for 7 or 8 hours last night, but I woke up exhausted. You woke up exhausted because you didn't get REM sleep. And so there's a difference there. So the earlier you eat, the smaller the portion you have, and then the more active you are, it is going to lead to better rest. Maybe you take you a hot shower, right? Maybe you take you a hot bath. Come on, fellas, I fool with bubble baths, I do. I will put some Epsom salt in there and some lavender and spearmint. You hear me? Oh, y'all not hearing me. Listen, I'm talking about some little eucalyptic oil. I would light me a candle and watch me a little Netflix show. Come on, listen to me. I want you to choose you. I found that most educators struggle with this notion of self-care. Most educators that get burnt out or tired because you're so selfless. You are wired, your personality type is very similar to first responders, very similar to like nurses, those in the healthcare industry, very similar to social workers. Like you're so eager to give and to serve where you oftentimes let yourself go. But I'm telling you, when we shift that narrative and you see the value of you prioritizing you, you'll find yourself feeling stronger. You'll find yourself feeling better, and you'll be able to service the young people that we've been called to service at a higher level. And so you eat earlier, you eat smaller, you have some type of activity, you take you a hot bath, set boundaries. Maybe you tell your spouse, not tonight. Maybe you tell your kids, leave me alone, right? I had no cute way to put that, just leave me alone. I told my daughter the other day, I said, boo-boo, if you come up, because she would come in, daddy, mommy, like the smallest thing. Let me tell you what happened. I'm like, boo-boo, we got all night to talk, right? But when 8 o'clock comes around, mama has had a very stressful day. If you come in my room one more time, I'm going to take your tablet for a week. I ain't see Jewel till the morning. You feel me? It's like, baby, you came home from school at 3. We've been talking from 3 to 8. At some point, mama and daddy got a woosah. So you set boundaries. Let me say it one more time. Set boundaries. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. My wife's phone went off. It was like 8:52. Mine was on. My Do Not Disturb kicked on at 8. I'm about to change it to 7. I heard my wife's phone go off. I went to her phone. I went and changed that sucker to 7 o'clock. I'm like, y'all better leave my wife alone. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. You take time for you. And don't feel bad about it. And now you find yourself feeling good. You find yourself getting better rest. You got some time to woosah, to come down off the hustle and bustle of life and work and school and family and everything else. And then in the morning time, you are going to wake up feeling, and one more thing. Maybe you try some melatonin, 5 milligrams, non-habit forming. Your body already produces melatonin, but sometimes maybe you take a little melatonin to help you get an even deeper sleep. Now you're in that REM sleep. By the way, somebody should say thank you because I just helped some of y'all lose 10 pounds just now. Some of y'all that's been on the elliptical, you've been working out on the treadmill, and you jump on that scale and don't nothing move. It's because you ain't getting REM sleep. But when you get to REM sleep, you're going to find your body really doing what it's supposed to do. And then in the morning time, don't you rush up to get papers or get the kids out the door. You take 30 minutes for you. Whether you do yoga, whether you meditate, whether you read, whether you pray, whatever you do, you take 30 minutes for you. You are so special. Listen to me. You are so valuable. Your peace, your joy, your happiness is so important. You take 30 minutes for you. Practice mindfulness. Ask yourself, how am I feeling today? What am I expecting today? What did I learn from yesterday? Like, these are the things that's going to help you walk with a deeper purpose. You're going to start having more strength and more joy in your heart and your mind. And now, what happens? Now you're more coherent. Now you're more locked in. Now you're more in tune with the students. Now you're able to see things and notice things that now you're more creative because you're more restful. Like, these things make a difference. You're really prioritizing your zen, your peace. Because life is hard, because life is rough. And now I'm in the process, it's like for my wife, I'm trying to really protect her peace, to make sure she's in the best space possible. Because she dealt with fibromyalgia and endometriosis and adenomyosis, and we lost 2 babies back to back, and then she lost her father, and then her grandmother, and then her aunt, and then her mom within 14 months. It's like a dark cloud was just sitting over my family's house, and I'm just looking up at the sky, frustrated, upset, because I'm like, we're good people. We walked away from great jobs to work in this educational space, and it's like when we did that, it's like life just began to happen. And I'm just letting y'all know, like, man, like, I get it. Those of y'all that feel tired, those of y'all that feel discouraged, those of y'all that feel like you're in a dark place, I'm just telling you that if you put some of these things in place and you prioritize yourself and you prioritize your life and your peace and your zen, you'll find yourself moving different. You'll find yourself getting stronger. You'll find yourself having more joy and more life inside of you. Like, I promise you, I know you're in a rough time right now. I read it one time. It said that weeping endures at night, but joy comes in the morning. It ain't gonna always be dark. It ain't gonna always be cloudy. It ain't gonna always be thunderstormy. At some point, those clouds are gonna break and that sun is gonna come out and shine. So you gotta do, it's your responsibility. Your peace is your responsibility. Your joy is your responsibility. Your mental health is your responsibility. And the greatness that's inside you is your responsibility. So you do whatever you gotta do day in and day out to take care of you and prioritize you. I'm giving you permission to prioritize you. I'm giving you permission to put you first. I'm giving you permission to tackle and embrace that zen, that joy, that peace that you so much deserve. And when you do that, you will find yourself teaching, you will find yourself leading, you will find yourself speaking life and guiding these students to education and so many other amazing things when you begin to take care of you on the inside. And when you do that, you're gonna go from one level to the next level, and I'm gonna look up and see y'all at the top. That's my time. God bless you all. Thank you.